I stopped helping my brother with his mortgage, so his wife accused me of trying to sabotage their marriage and made me look like the villain. I'm in a difficult situation and need advice on how to handle it. I'm a 35-year-old woman, and my younger brother Dan, who's 32, has been receiving financial help from me for the past 2 years to pay his mortgage. This all started when he lost his job unexpectedly. To give some context, Dan and I grew up in a middle-class family. Our parents always emphasized the importance of education and hard work. I pursued a career in marketing, while Dan went into finance. We were close growing up, often confiding in each other about our struggles and successes. When Dan met Jenny, his now wife, at a mutual friend's party 5 years ago, things began to change between us. Jenny, who's 30, comes from a wealthy family. Her father owns a successful chain of hotels, and she's never had to worry about money. At first, I was happy for Dan. He seemed genuinely in love, and I thought Jenny might be good for him. However, as time went on, I noticed Jenny's attitude towards me becoming increasingly dismissive. She would make subtle comments about my clothes or my car, implying that they weren't up to her standards. I tried to brush it off, thinking it was just her way of joking around. When Dan and Jenny got married 3 years ago, I noticed a shift in Dan's behavior too. He started canceling our weekly coffee meetups more frequently, always with an excuse related to Jenny or her family. I felt like I was losing my brother, but I didn't want to cause any problems in his marriage, so I kept my feelings to myself. 2 years ago, Dan lost his job in finance due to company-wide layoffs. It was a shock to everyone, especially since he had always been a hard worker and had received promotions regularly. At the time, Jenny wasn't working either. She had quit her part-time job at a boutique, saying she wanted to focus on starting a family. When I found out about Dan's job loss, I immediately offered to help. I knew how important homeownership was to him, and I didn't want him to lose his house. I offered to cover half of their monthly mortgage payment until he found a new job. It was a significant amount of money for me, but I had some savings and thought it would only be for a few months. Those few months turned into 2 years. During this time, I had to make some sacrifices in my own life. I postponed plans to renovate my apartment and had to cut back on my own expenses. But I kept telling myself it was worth it to help my brother. Throughout these 2 years, Jenny's attitude towards me didn't improve. She would often forget to invite me to family gatherings or make offhand comments about how I should focus on my own life instead of Dan's. I tried to maintain a cordial relationship with her for Dan's sake, but it was challenging. Last month, I realized I couldn't continue supporting them financially. My own bills were piling up, and I had used up most of my savings. Dan had found a new job about 6 months ago. It doesn't pay as much as his previous position, but it's stable. I thought it was a good time to stop my financial support. I called Dan and explained the situation. I told him that I was happy he was back on his feet but that I needed to focus on my own financial stability now. He seemed to understand and thanked me for all the help I had provided. A few days later, I received an unexpected call from Jenny. She was furious. She accused me of trying to ruin their marriage and said I was setting them up to fail. She claimed that by withdrawing my financial support, I was trying to make Dan look incompetent. I was shocked by her reaction. I tried to explain that this was about my own financial needs, not about them, but she wouldn't listen. She went on to say that I was jealous of their life and that I wanted to drive a wedge between them. The most surprising accusation was when she said that Dan wouldn't have lost his job if I hadn't encouraged him to make risky career choices. This was completely untrue. I had never been involved in Dan's career decisions. After that phone call, things between Dan and me became strained. He started avoiding my calls and messages. When I did manage to reach him, he was distant and evasive. It became clear that Jenny had told him her version of events, and he seemed to believe her. I'm at a loss about what to do now. I never imagined that trying to help my brother would lead to this situation. I don't know if I should try to confront Dan about Jenny's accusations or if I should just leave things alone. I'm worried that any attempt to clear the air might make things worse, but I also don't want Jenny's lies to destroy my relationship with my brother. I keep wondering if I'm the one at fault here. Was it wrong of me to stop the financial support? Should I have continued helping them even though it was putting a strain on my own finances? I'm torn between feeling angry at Jenny for her accusations and feeling guilty for possibly causing problems in their marriage. I've always tried to be there for Dan, and now I feel like I've lost him because of money and Jenny's insecurities. I'm not sure how to move forward from here or if there's any way to salvage my relationship with my brother. Update 1. After reading some of the comments on my original post, I decided to try talking to Dan directly. I thought that if we could have a face-to-face conversation, he might realize how absurd Jenny's accusations were. Unfortunately, things didn't go as I had hoped. I went to their house on a Saturday afternoon, thinking it would be a good time for a calm discussion. When I arrived, Jenny answered the door. She had a smug expression and said, "Oh, I knew you'd come back." I was taken aback by her attitude but tried to remain composed. I saw Dan sitting in the living room, but he wouldn't make eye contact with me. This was unusual for him, as he's usually very engaged in conversations. I asked if we could talk privately, but Jenny refused to leave the room. She insisted that anything I had to say to Dan could be said in front of her. I began explaining that I wasn't trying to cause problems in their marriage or ruin their lives. I wanted to clear up the misunderstandings about why I had stopped helping with the mortgage. However, Jenny kept interrupting me. She accused me of wanting to see their marriage fail and even suggested that I was trying to get Dan to divorce her so that I could take care of him like I always had. When I tried to defend myself, Jenny pulled out her phone and started scrolling through texts I had sent Dan over the past 2 years. She showed them to Dan, claiming they were evidence of my attempts to manipulate him. She took messages where I had asked about his job search or mentioned their mortgage and twisted them to fit her narrative. I was shocked by how she was interpreting my messages. Simple check-ins about Dan's well-being were being portrayed as attempts to undermine their relationship. Messages offering emotional support during his job search were presented as me trying to control his career choices. The most frustrating part of this encounter was Dan's silence. He just sat there, not saying a word to defend me or even himself. It felt like I was in some bizarre situation where Jenny's wild theories actually made sense to him. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Jenny that she was being paranoid and that her accusations were unfounded. I said that if she wanted to believe I was trying to destroy her marriage, then there was nothing more I could do. I left their house feeling angry and hurt. As I was driving home, I received a text from Dan. He apologized for not speaking up during the confrontation and explained that Jenny had been dealing with some mental health issues recently. He said he didn't want to upset her further. Dan asked if we could cool off for a while and give Jenny some space. This situation has left me feeling confused and hurt. I don't understand how my attempts to help have been so misconstrued. I'm worried about Dan and wondering if there's more going on in their relationship than I realize. I'm also concerned about Jenny's mental health. If she's genuinely struggling with mental health issues, I want to be understanding. However, I don't think that excuses her behavior or the way she's been treating me. I'm torn about what to do next. Part of me wants to respect Dan's request for space and hope that things will eventually calm down. Another part of me feels like I should try to reach out to Dan again and make sure he's okay. I'm also wondering if I should try to involve other family members or friends who might be able to provide a different perspective on the situation. However, I'm hesitant to do this because I don't want to escalate the conflict or make things more complicated. This whole situation has made me question my relationship with Dan and how well I really know him. I'm hurt that he didn't defend me against Jenny's accusations, but I'm also worried about him. I don't know if he's staying silent out of fear, manipulation, or if he genuinely believes what Jenny is saying. I'm not sure how to move forward from here. Should I give them the space they've asked for and hope things improve over time? Or should I try to address this situation more directly, even if it risks further conflict? I'm worried about the long-term impact this might have on my relationship with Dan and our family dynamics. Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and some unexpected developments have occurred. After the disastrous attempt to talk to Dan and Jenny face-to-face, I decided to respect their request for space. It's been a difficult month with no contact with Dan, and I've been feeling pretty low about the whole situation. 2 days ago, I received a call from my cousin, Sarah, who is close with Jenny's family. What she told me was shocking and has added a new layer of complexity to this already complicated situation. According to Sarah, Jenny has been spreading a very different version of events to her family and some members of Dan's family. She's been telling everyone that I've been trying to interfere in their marriage for years. Jenny claims that my financial support was actually a way of controlling them, and that I cut them off when I didn't get my way. I was stunned to hear this. It feels like Jenny is trying to rewrite history and cast me as the villain in her narrative. The idea that I was trying to control them through financial support is absurd. I was genuinely trying to help during a difficult time. What's even more surprising is that Jenny's parents have now gotten involved. Sarah told me that they've offered to pay off the remainder of Dan and Jenny's mortgage. Their stated reason for doing this is to get me out of the picture. They apparently told Dan that he should cut off all contact with me because I'm toxic and unstable. This news has left me feeling hurt and angry. I never wanted any of this to happen, and now it feels like I'm losing my brother because of Jenny's lies. I'm worried about Dan and wondering what kind of pressure he's under from Jenny and her family. I'm also concerned about the potential long-term consequences of these rumors. If other family members believe Jenny's version of events, it could damage my relationships with them as well. I'm worried about how this might affect family gatherings and holidays in the future. I'm not sure what to do next. Part of me wants to reach out to other family members to explain my side of the story. However, I'm worried that this might just escalate the situation and make things worse. I don't want to engage in a he said, she said situation or create more drama within the family. I'm also wondering if I should try to contact Dan directly again. I'm worried about him and want to make sure he's okay. However, I'm not sure if he would be receptive to hearing from me, especially if he's under pressure from Jenny and her family. This situation has made me question a lot of things about my relationship with Dan and our family dynamics. I never imagined that trying to help my brother would lead to such a complex and hurtful situation. I'm torn between wanting to clear my name and protect my relationships with other family members and just walking away from the whole situation to protect my own mental health. I don't know what the right course of action is, or if there's any way to salvage my relationship with Dan at this point. Update 3. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I feel it's time to provide a final update on this situation. After Jenny's family paid off Dan and Jenny's mortgage, the distance between Dan and me has only grown. We haven't spoken in weeks, and I've come to accept that our relationship will likely never be the same again. Initially, I thought I would be devastated about losing my relationship with my brother. However, as time has passed, I've found myself feeling more relieved than heartbroken. The constant stress and drama of the past few months have taken a toll on me, and I've realized that I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. I've made the decision to cut off all contact with Jenny. As for Dan, I've left the ball in his court. If he wants to reach out to me, he knows how to do so. But I'm not going to chase after him or try to convince him of my side of the story anymore. This experience has taught me a lot about boundaries and the importance of protecting my own well-being. While I still believe that helping family is important, I've learned that it's equally important to set limits and not let others take advantage of my kindness. I've been focusing on my own life and well-being over the past few months. I've started therapy to work through some of the emotions and stress from this situation. It's been helpful to have a neutral party to talk to about everything that's happened. I've also been reconnecting with friends and other family members who have been supportive throughout this ordeal. Their support has been invaluable and has reminded me that I have other important relationships in my life beyond my relationship with Dan. As for the rumors that Jenny spread about me, I've decided not to actively try to clear my name. I trust that the people who truly know me will see through the lies. And for those who choose to believe Jenny's version of events without hearing my side, I've realized that their opinion of me isn't something I can control. This situation has been a difficult lesson in letting go. I've had to accept that sometimes people we love make choices that hurt us, and that we can't always fix or change those situations. It's been hard to watch Dan choose to believe Jenny's lies, but I've come to understand that it's his choice to make. Moving forward, I'm focusing on building a life that doesn't revolve around Dan or this drama. I'm planning a trip I've always wanted to take, and I'm considering going back to school to further my education. These are things I might not have done if I was still financially supporting Dan and Jenny. For anyone going through a similar situation, my advice would be to prioritize your own well-being. It's okay to help family, but not at the expense of your own mental health and financial stability. And if someone consistently shows you that they don't value your help or your relationship, it's okay to step back. I don't know what the future holds for my relationship with Dan. Maybe one day he'll realize what really happened and reach out to me. But until then, I'm choosing to focus on the people in my life who appreciate me and on building the life I want for myself.